Celebrate my sister's wedding, even if you're not pretty. The groom is your ex-fiancé, though. What? I don't have a sister, though? Huh? My ex-fiancé, John, who broke off our engagement and married my beautiful sister, Emily, gloated as he said this to me. He should just ignore such a person. But he seems to need to say it out loud. Actually, Emily and I. What? No way! It seemed he was under some misunderstanding, so I told John the truth. Then, John and Emily had a big fight before the wedding. Emily tried hard to calm things down, and the wedding took place, but I ended up being the center of attention, not the bride Emily, who was furious. It's not my fault, though. John and Emily kept bothering me even after the wedding, so I had to make them understand what they were doing. My name is Naomi Parker, 27 years old, an office worker. I've had a boyfriend for 6 years. His name is John Williams. 33 years old. He's a stage actor, which is John's job. Unfortunately, he's not very successful. We met when I was still in college. I went to see a play in which a college friend was performing, and John was also acting in it. John saw me from the stage and approached me after the show. He was 6 years older, and I remember being scared at first. I saw you from the audience. You're really cute. I was wary of John, who hit on me so straightforwardly. After all, I've been called ugly before, but never cute. That time, my friend protected me, and I didn't give John my contact information. But later, John found my social media and sent me a DM. Of course, I blocked him right away. However, John didn't give up easily and persistently contacted my friend to get my phone number. I was worried about causing trouble for my friend. Just when I was thinking I had to do something about it, I got another DM on social media. John had created another account to contact me. I finally gave in and agreed to have dinner with him, promising it would be just this once. You are more beautiful than any woman I've ever seen. Please stop. I don't know how to react because I've never been told something like that. John was the kind of guy who could say such things without a second thought. During our date, he kept complimenting me. He said my voice was beautiful. My fingertips were lovely. My hair was shiny. I smelled good. He complimented everything about me. I had never met a man like him before. Reluctantly, by the time we parted, I found myself wanting to see him again. I lacked confidence in myself. That's because I was abandoned in 2nd grade and grew up in a facility. I never felt at home since I was conscious. My mother never praised me, always saying, "I wish you were never born." So, I always thought I was unworthy of being loved. Probably, I just wanted someone's approval. John fulfilled my need for approval in just one day. By then, I think I was already hooked on him. After that, John asked me out a few times, and we naturally started dating. But even John, who used to fulfill my need for approval, changed after 6 years. You're an actor's girlfriend, for heaven's sake. At least wear some makeup when you're out. I am wearing makeup. Seriously? That's your makeup? Wow, you're aging fast, aren't you? John started to insult my looks. His purpose for dating me was clear. I'm kinda strapped for cash this month. Again? The month just started. Well, it's important for an actor to have a social life. He says he's an actor, but it's more self-proclaimed. He hasn't had a stage job in a year. He's barely making ends meet with day jobs. He hardly works and often takes days off. I'd really like you to pay me back for what I've lent you so far. Why? We're gonna get married, right? You don't have to pay it back. I was 27 and vulnerable to the idea of marriage. But I've been hearing the same thing from John for 3 years. I had a nagging feeling. John had no intention of marrying me. But I had no one else to cling to. I thought I'd never meet anyone who would accept me again. And so, I ended up lending him money I knew I'd never see again. Hey, you entered my room without permission when I wasn't there, didn't you? Yes, I did. Please don't do that anymore. What? But you've always let me in before. Well, sometimes my actor friends stay over. I'm worried you might get assaulted. Those guys are pretty lighthearted, so I worry. So, make sure you call me before coming over. Okay. 6 months ago, he took back the spare key, and now I need to call before coming over. I felt like we were moving backward rather than toward marriage. I knew John had hidden a key under the intercom, so I sometimes used it to sneak in to clean, do laundry, or cook. Why is he bringing it up now? Did he always dislike it? My anxiety grew. Recently, I confided in a senior colleague about John. My senior colleague, Michael Thompson, 30 years old, noticed me eating instant noodles every day for lunch and expressed his concern. I was embarrassed to be caught eating in a hidden spot. Our company doesn't pay that low, right? I'm just saving money. He quickly saw through my excuse, and I ended up talking about John. Talking about it surprisingly felt relieving, and I've been seeking his advice ever since. But recently, he's been straightforwardly saying, "You should break up with that guy." I know he's right, but I can't bring myself to leave John. It's shameful. Finally, I decided it was time to make a decision. When John came to my place, I sat him down to talk. What's this talk about? I'm hungry. John came over for food and money. With this in mind, I gathered my courage to speak. Hey, we've been together for 6 years, shouldn't we think about the future? The future? John seemed genuinely displeased. I felt I shouldn't waste any more time. If you can't see a future with me, let's break up. What? I want to break up with you. I've packed your stuff, so take it with you. I'll pick up mine tomorrow. As I brought this up, John suddenly panicked. Wait! What kind of joke is this? I'm serious. Realizing I was earnest, John suddenly knelt down and took my hand. Okay, let's get engaged. What? Wait for the ring. I don't have money right now. I don't need a ring. Unexpectedly, John proposed to me. Naomi, will you marry me? John made a ring out of a nearby straw and put it on my ring finger. I was so surprised that I started to cry. Are you serious? Of course. I love you, Naomi. I don't ever want to part with you. I completely believed his words. I was over the moon, thinking John was truly considering marrying me. Now that we were engaged, I felt as if the world around me had transformed. It was like the fog had lifted. For the next few days, I was in high spirits. In my excitement, I even left something at John's house. It was an important document I needed for work the next day. I planned to go get it without contacting him, as I knew he had an audition that day. I thought I wouldn't be noticed since I was just going to grab the document and leave. Plus, now I was his fiancé. The situation was different from a few days ago. When I went to retrieve the key, it wasn't in its usual spot. Then I heard voices from inside. At first, I thought it was John's actor friends, but the tone seemed off. I heard lewd voices, clearly audible even outside. The male voice was unmistakably John's. Curious, I gently turned the doorknob and found it unlocked. Are you going to tell her soon? Yeah, maybe. But maybe it's better to get some more money from her before dumping her, right? Wow, you're so bad. They were undoubtedly talking about me. I stormed into the house, convinced John was cheating. They were on the bed. What is this? Instead of panicking, John got angry. I told you to call before coming, didn't I? Why do you show up unannounced? The woman just smirked at me, not panicking and silently dressing up. I looked at her face and felt I knew her. It's been a while, Naomi. How do you know my name? Have you forgotten? Painful memories are tough to forget, even when you want to. My brain brought back those memories. This was before I started going to the facility. Back in the home where I was oppressed by my mother. There was another girl there. Her name was Emily, 3 years my junior. And now, right in front of me, stood that very same girl. Mom adored Emily. As a child, Emily was cute and talented, clever, and Mom's pride. Seeing her, Mom deemed me, always slow, a disappointment. Plus, I resembled my father, who had left Mom, adding to her reasons to dislike me. Emily always watched with a smirk as I was mistreated by Mom. Her face then and now merged in my mind. At 30, Emily still had traces of that girl, only more beautiful. When I heard you were my sister, I was shocked. We look nothing alike, you're ugly. What? John, you said I was cute. Huh? I don't remember saying that. Be careful. She's always been a liar. Seriously? That's scary. Their laughter triggered more memories. Mom and Emily used to laugh at me just like that. I fled from there. My breathing ragged. Not just from running. For 6 years, I believed John's words. I thought he was the only one who acknowledged me. Now betrayed, I was lost, my world turning dark. The next day, I confided in Michael. He listened silently. Talking it out, I calmed down and realized the engagement was a lie. I finally understood there was no point in continuing with John. The next day, I demanded John repay the money I'd lent him. That was a loan you gave willingly. Why should I repay? It was under the promise of marriage. Now that it's off, it's only fair to repay. No way. I have no intention of repaying. There's no proof I owe you anything. I never got the money back. I had no choice but to cry. We'd been together for 6 years but never lived together. If we had, I might have had a claim as a common-law wife. But we weren't like that. Initially, I even gave him money so I couldn't demand repayment. Hiring a lawyer would cost more. Just stay away from me. Emily hates it. You took precious time from me, unforgivable. Yeah, don't forgive me then. John shooed me away like a stray cat. Months passed. I focused on work to recover from the heartbreak. It helped me forget. One late night after work, I found an invitation in my mailbox. Opening it, it was from the 2 people I wanted to forget the most. An invitation to John and Emily's wedding. With a picture of them. Probably just in my envelope. I was about to trash it when the phone rang. I recognized the number without needing to see the name. It was John's. What do you want? Hey, don't sound so scary. I'll hang up if there's nothing important. Wait, you're so impatient. Come to our wedding. I was disgusted. Why should I attend my ex-fiancé's wedding? As I thought about ending the call quickly, he said, even if you're ugly, you should celebrate your sister's wedding. The groom's your ex, though. What? I don't have a sister. Huh? Then John burst into laughter. I didn't understand what was so funny. You met her at my place recently, remember? You mean Emily. I know that. Then stop lying about not having a sister. I'm not lying. John started getting irritated. I realized I had to explain properly to end this conversation. We're not family anymore. I have no obligation to attend your wedding. Come on, I've prepared a seat for you. Or is it that you don't want to see the mom who abandoned you? It's not that. Listen, I'll explain. Emily and I aren't blood related. Emily is the child of my mom and her previous husband. I am my dad's child from another relationship. But my dad left my mom and even me. I have no blood relation to my mom either. For a while, Mom kept me, hoping my dad would return, but soon I became a nuisance. That's why I was taken to a facility. So, I have no blood relation to Emily. But you have the same last name. That's because my mom and Emily's mom divorced when Emily was just starting elementary school. They kept the name. So, Emily's mom should have a different last name. Finally, John seemed to understand. There's no reason for me to attend the wedding. We're not relatives. I didn't know that. That's your problem, not mine. John believed Emily was his real sister. Emily must have fed him lies about me. When did you first meet Emily? About 6 months ago. That long ago? So you've been cheating for half a year? No, let's leave the past behind. I was boiling with anger to learn it had been going on for so long. It's bad enough to be deceived, but worse that John easily trusted someone he met only 6 months ago over me, his partner of 6 years. At the same time, I felt my feelings for him cooling off rapidly. I'm glad you called today. Thank you. What, thanking me? That's creepy. Thanks to you, any feelings I had for you are completely gone. What do you mean by that? Why had I ever felt such a need for John? It wasn't about liking him, I was just happy to be acknowledged by someone. I finally realized this. Even when John had been deceived before, I felt nothing. No matter what happened next, I didn't feel like helping him. If you can't empathize with someone, it's not love or anything like it. I'm just a stranger to you and your family now, so please don't contact me again. I said that, hung up the phone, and blocked his number. But a few days later, Emily showed up in front of me. She caught me as I was leaving work. She must have asked John where I worked. You said unnecessary things to John. I only told him the truth since he seemed to think we were real sisters. Thanks to you, now I'm being labeled a liar. After hanging up, John kept calling me back. Emily had seen him and asked what he was doing. He snapped, "This liar. You made me look like a fool." Hearing this, Emily apologized. Somehow, she managed to calm John down and avoided canceling the wedding. Still, I didn't understand why she was so desperate to marry John. Because of your meddling, I'm in a tight spot now. That's your own doing, not my problem. You always act so cool about everything I do. Be more upset. What? Emily suddenly showed her anger. It was like seeing a demon. I was clueless and asked for an explanation. As a child, when my father was still at home, he apparently favored me. I didn't remember any of it. Maybe my mom used me to gain favor with my dad, but for Emily, it felt like her mom was being taken away. So Emily tried hard in studies, was well behaved, and helped a lot at home. Still, I was favored more, which she couldn't stand. When my dad left, my mom turned cold towards me. Emily found comfort in seeing me suffer under our mother's oppression. The more I was hurt, the more pleasure she seemed to derive from it. But when you were sent to the facility, I couldn't see you suffer anymore, and I found it boring. Then, about 20 years later, she saw me walking happily with John. Hearing him call me cute was unbearable for her. I can't stand you being happier than me. So, she decided to steal John from me. Emily approached John, claiming to be my sister, and used her beauty to seduce him. As she explained all this with a triumphant tone, almost snorting in pride, I couldn't help but feel pity for her. You must be really bored. What did you say? Well, it's true. I left home 20 years ago. You're still obsessed with that? What a waste of time. Enraged by my words, Emily lunged at me. Just then, Michael appeared and witnessed it. He rushed over to us. What are you doing? Michael stood protectively in front of me. Startled, Emily looked at him and became silent, as if lost for words. Naomi, who is this person? He's a senior colleague at work. Emily suddenly became fidgety. Probably because Michael was handsome. I'm Emily, her sister. Sister? Well, I'm getting married soon, but my sister says she won't come to the wedding. That's why we're having this disagreement. Then, to my surprise, Michael said something unexpected to Emily. Can I attend your wedding too? Yes. Of course. Please do come. I'll reserve a seat for you. Make sure to put me next to Naomi, okay? When Michael smiled warmly and spoke, Emily was completely charmed by him. After Emily left, I complained to Michael. He just winked and said he had a plan. I was amazed at how selfish the men around me could be. Then, the wedding day arrived. I hadn't planned to go, but there I was, participating. What was Michael thinking? I couldn't understand. Filled with anxiety, I entered the venue. The wedding was a garden party-style standing reception. There weren't really any designated seats, so I stood away from the family area. To my surprise, Michael escorted me perfectly, ensuring I didn't attract strange looks. The relatives and former friends who were whispering about me turned their attention to him. Then I met my mother after a long time. She seemed uncomfortable, but when Michael spoke to her, she seemed dazed like Emily, and probably mistook him for my boyfriend. She looked at me with envy and disdain. For the first time, I realized Michael was a charming person. As the wedding began and during the mingling, Emily, the bride, approached us. "Thank you for coming today, Naomi and Mr. Michael. It's my pleasure to be invited. By the way, Michael, do you know? The groom is Naomi's ex-fiancé." Emily said this proudly, though Michael obviously already knew. "And, well, Naomi has a bit of a tendency to lie, so please don't be too hard on her." "What are you talking about, making things up like that?" "Scary, scary." "Stop it, it's my wedding day. Don't raise your voice like that, you'll startle everyone." "See, she can't even control her emotions." Michael sighed deeply, and I felt a pang, thinking the sigh was meant for me. I wanted to believe he understood me, but fear of betrayal, like what I experienced with John, clouded my heart. "It's really a shame," Michael said, and Emily smirked. "Poor Naomi, to have such a troubled sister." "What? Isn't it obvious? It's a wedding, you should be enjoying it. You've been worried about your sister all this time." "What did you say?" "I'm sorry, but I don't believe the words of others. I know Naomi best. I've been watching her since she joined the company." People started gathering around us. Even John came over, curious about the commotion. "What's going on?" "Oh, the groom. I wanted to thank you." "Thank me?" "Yes, for finally breaking up with Naomi. It gave me a chance." Then, Michael suddenly asked me to go out. He said he fell in love at first sight when I joined the company as a new graduate. Knowing I had a boyfriend, he had no choice but to give up. But he never stopped loving me, for 5 years. I was astonished. "Hey! Don't do whatever you want at my wedding." "You're right. We'll excuse ourselves now." With that, Michael took my hand and we left the gathering, leaving everyone in a daze. At the wedding, a video of John and Emily, meant to taunt me, went unnoticed as guests were still abuzz about the confession. It was easy to imagine Emily's frustration during the rest of the ceremony. Even my mother remarked, "Emily, why didn't you marry someone like Michael?" That night, an infuriated Emily called me. "You're calling me on your wedding night?" "Shut up. I have to give you a piece of my mind. You invited me, remember? That doesn't mean you can cause a scene." "I didn't cause any scene." Emily was so angry, talking over anything I said. "Can you just leave me alone?" "I'm not bothering you. I understand you're upset, but constantly comparing yourself to others is pointless." "What do you know?" "I don't. But it's silly to marry someone you don't love just to see me suffer. Ever thought about how you're wasting your life?" Emily was stunned by my words and hung up without a reply. It must have been a shock. This might be her chance to finally confront herself. I hoped she would stop living to belittle others and start living her own life. I never heard from Emily again. Given that Emily had already gone through with the wedding, she couldn't immediately divorce. Moreover, my mother had paid for the wedding expenses. Emily needed to repay that money, so she attempted to collect it from John. "You need to pay for half of the wedding." "What? You think I have that kind of money? That's not what we agreed on. I told you, we didn't even need to have a wedding." Ultimately, John didn't pay her back, and their marriage continued for a while. John didn't work, and Emily supported the household. But she couldn't endure his dominance forever, and 6 months later, she snapped and served him divorce papers. "I can't stand this life anymore," she said as she left. So now John reappeared before me, telling me all this unasked. It was in the middle of a cold winter. He was waiting at the nearest station to my office. She left me, Naomi. Now I see clearly. The only one who can support my acting career is you. Let's start over. Leave me alone. Huh? John still seemed to think I harbored feelings for him. Once awake to reality, such a man only appears pathetic. I felt ashamed that I had clung to such a man for 6 years. Hey, how long will you keep calling yourself an actor? It's just pitiful now. You know you're not making it. What's wrong with you? If you were actually trying, it'd be different, but you're not. No woman will dedicate herself to a man like you anymore. I've finally seen the light, thanks to you leaving me. So, thank you. Wait a minute. John blocked my way, starting to apologize. I was genuinely surprised. I never thought someone as prideful as John would ever apologize. Stop it. Not here. Please. Let's get back together. I'll treat you right this time. Do you think I can trust those words? Please, I don't want to be alone. John seemed to be trying to leech off another woman for support, but he also appeared to be afraid of being alone. Abandoned by Emily, he initially stayed by himself, but he hadn't been on good terms with his actor friends for years. Friendless, John was truly alone. He couldn't return to his parents' home after being disowned for pursuing acting. He lost his job due to repeated absences and was terrified of the loneliness. However, his story didn't make me forgive him. Sorry, but I'm engaged now, I said, showing him my engagement ring. After John and Emily's wedding, Michael approached me, expressing his desire to start a relationship with the intention of marriage. We began dating following his proposal. Engaged? No way. It's true. So, I'm sorry. Is it that guy? Don't. He's no good. Do you have the right to say that? John was at a loss for words. Please forget about me. I left him sitting there, stunned. He never appeared before me again. Afterward, Emily returned home, facing days of being scolded by our mother as a disgrace. Forced to repay the wedding costs, Emily couldn't defy our mother and worked for low wages at a local company. Emily, burdened with the responsibility of repaying the full cost of the wedding, was seething with anger at her plight. Feeling unfairly targeted by fate, she contacted John again, presumably to seek his help in settling the debt. John was initially happy she returned, but disappointed when she demanded wedding costs. He agreed to work 2 jobs, believing they'd reconcile once he repaid her. However, Emily had no such intentions and was just using him. I felt no obligation to tell them, it was their business. I began planning my wedding with Michael. We could discuss and share joys together. Our relationship at work remained the same. I could handle it, but Michael seemed uncomfortable with the change. So, I decided to resign upon our marriage. Not to appease Michael, but for my own reasons. I planned to pursue a long-desired career and would attend school for it. Being able to openly discuss such matters is something special with Michael. He's supportive of me. Michael accepts me as I am, creating a very comfortable environment. He doesn't overly praise me, rather, he simply accepts me for who I am. I've come to realize how happy this makes me feel. My life is just beginning. And I'm determined to live it fully, being true to myself.